Harold, thank you for joining us for this, I think it was the first 3D Experience ENOVIA user conference in the US. We've been doing most of them in Europe. So I'm very happy to be there with you.
It was a pleasure to be here and be invited to it.
Before we start, you can just introduce yourself, who you are, of course the company you are working with or for, and what is important for you in your business life.
Yeah, so I'm Harold Sullivan. I'm currently the director of PLM at Vermeer. Vermeer is a industrial equipment manufacturing company based in Pella, Iowa. But where I started my career, I started as an electrical engineer, and but have been in product development my entire life. I soon learned that I was not a good engineer, and so if you're not a good engineer, where do you go? You go more into management, and so most of my career has been in some sort of management capacity, trying to solve problems, trying to help others solve problems, and I find a lot of joy in that, in making others successful.
So which industries did you experiment in your
Most of it
career?
has been, interestingly enough, most of my time has been spent in consumer electronics.
Okay.
So to find myself now in industrial equipment, that's very exciting, very
farming.
cool. Farming, yes. Usually I'm accustomed to being able to hold our product in the palm of my hand. Think of your iPhone or something like that. The equipment that we do, I can usually not able to even hold a single part in my hand. The scale is much bigger. But from a information standpoint, a PLM system or some of these other things, they don't care about the size, they just care about the data. I was talking with an individual, a colleague not too long ago, and they were asking me about my journey, and they were asking for suggestions and where they might take their career path. And I said, always be open to new opportunities and look behind the doors that are open to you. Because when I started out my career, PLM wasn't even a thing. So where I'm at now is not at all where I ever envisioned myself to be. And that's an interesting path.
And so what brought you to Vermeer?
To Vermeer, and a unique opportunity. So I've been in PLM, supporting PLM systems and adoptions and rollouts for the past 15 or so years. At Vermeer, I had this unique opportunity to work with a company that had, well, their PLM system was Microsoft Excel, right?
There's a few other like this, I know.
And so an opportunity, which I almost considered a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, to be involved in bringing a full PLM platform to bear at a company that was ready for it, wanted it, and had reached a point in their strategy where they knew this is what they needed to do to be successful and be competitive ongoing. So really a unique opportunity that I was really excited to be a part of.
And I think Vermeer is a family-based company and with a, I think, pretty special culture.
Oh, a very special culture. I'd never experienced anything quite like it in my life. So people focused and concerned about the people and the way in which they're involved and the community that they create even inside their business.
So actually, speaking about people, I think it's a good transition. I think you did a fantastic presentation today related to change management.
Thank you.
Not the engineering change management, but the people and cultural change management. So, can you share a little bit about your what you saw when you arrived in this new position on how you built up the program to roll out the new PLM system?
Yeah, when I first came to Vermeer, I realized that it was a completely different culture from where I'd been. Previously, in companies that I'd been in, was more about the technology and very little choice in terms of if you're there working in a particular system, you will do this. Things were mandated. Here at Vermeer, it's very much adoption and committees and communities. And so very quickly identified that how we approached this was going to have to be dramatically different than the way in which we'd approached it in other companies that I'd worked in.
And I think that you put in place a kind of multifaceted programs to secure the adoption.
Yeah, and as part of that, to work on we call it our organizational change management project, we quickly also realized that you can't just do one thing one time. Cornerstone was repetition. But second to that was, there's the term 7 times 7 ways, just meaning many different times, repeating it many different times, and in different methods. So we looked at the way in which people absorb information at this point. Back in our day, it was easy. You had radio and television and magazine and newspaper. That was it. Now there's so many different ways which information can be consumed, and what works for me is going to be different than what works for you. So we looked at that and wanted to emulate that multimedia style communication method.
So can you maybe pick one example of what you did, which was a little bit even innovative compared to what you were used to do before?
Yeah, so we tried to look at, okay, there's different ways you consume information. You can either watch it or read it or hear it. So we tried to learn of different ways in which we could satisfy those different ways to consume it. So we have printed material, we have newsletters. We spent a lot of time in creating videos where we would have professional videos, voiceover, the whole thing, that would communicate what new functionality we were going to be rolling out, what our users could expect. Because it's not only about starting today, you're going to do this, but actually moving upstream, if you will, to this is what you can expect coming. Maybe it's even long term, to try to get that, start to begin that mental adoption of this is what the new system is going to be and what my work is going to be like.
And if I remember well, you also spent time to explain the why.
Oh, why is very important, especially in a Vermeer culture. We would have to, every time we had any sort of a communication, the first thing we did was why, reiterate the why, talk about the why.
So where do you stand today in terms of adoption of the new system?
We are, I would say we're at about a halfway point in terms of not necessarily adoption, but in terms of rolling out our system, right? So we have implemented project management, good adoption with that. We've had a pilot program. I think it's a fairly large pilot program, included 275 people.
Wow.
Right? And so now, actually this week, we are now doing our formal rollout of our data. A lot of that has been data migration and the teams associated with that.
Which is a painful part of the process, right?
Yeah, it's the painful part that's behind the scenes that nobody sees or really understands or appreciates.
Nobody cares, or at least.
All I care about is my file there when I come to work on Monday, right? Yeah.
So when will the first machine will be designed with 3D experience?
That's a great question. In fact, we were talking about that just last week.
Yeah.
Is what was going to be the first machine designed from scratch in 3D Experience platform. And sorry to say, we couldn't figure that out. Our design cycle is very long.
Yeah.
And we at this point, and we have different business units.
Yeah,
so to be able to see in what's going on and the scheduling in those different business units and what's coming up, we didn't have that visibility. So
I hope so.
So we're excited about it. We just don't know which one it's going to be. But I can guarantee you it probably will be one of those situations where we'll have to christen that first one with that bottle of champagne as the first from the 3D Experience starting point.
Maybe I can come myself down to Iowa to
drink
that. It with you.
We should do that. We should do that.
So looking a bit forward, Harold, so what is, in this context maybe, or others, the biggest challenges for you you want to tackle to continue this journey? Well,
at this point in time, where we're at, what we're rolling out, we are really doing what I would say is a major rollout of functionality. Right? We've heard different companies, they do bits and pieces to start. Our bit was project management to get people accustomed to navigating in the platform. But in terms of our PLM rollout, it's a pretty full function rollout. With CAD management, with parts management, with the ECN or the CA process or engineering change management, with all of these things that really create a solid base that we can move forward with. And we're very excited about the future and some of the things we're doing. We're already looking at some of those. Requirements management, model-based definition and design, mod sim,
So
these
pretty,
are the
pretty advanced,
these are the next
yeah.
things that we're looking forward to, and trying to figure out how fast can we run to get there. Because that's the exciting part. That's what we've built the foundation for. That's where we think there's real value.
So how did you keep also the management team on board on supporting the program?
You know, we actually have an excellent executive team. They have this vision just as much as we do. They push us just as much as we push ourselves, which I understand is not always the case. So we're very lucky to have that sort of support at an executive level.
So is there any any advice that you will have for the people listening to us in terms of critical success factors to succeed in those big transformation?
You know, I think, yes, several things to mention here is, one, most times people tend to talk about and think about the technology. We need to implement or configure this piece of software for our users. We need to do the work necessary for that, and they often minimize the people aspect of it, right? And so, on the other hand, people talk about what is their greatest resource. Well, they're people. So I would suggest that you need to be looking at the investment you're making in the technology and look for a balancing investment to make in your people that's going to be using that technological investment and making sure that they are trained and capable to get the value out of it that their people are investing in. So that's the first, that initial investment. And then the other is, as you're working on the rollout, as you're working on adoption, you really need to be looking at 3 different levels. If you don't already have it, make sure that executive team is aligned. That's probably the critical, that's the starting point. If you don't have that, you might question whether or not this should even be done. People then automatically quickly go to the grassroots level of the users. These are the people that are going to be using the platform, so that's very critical that they're on board and training them up. But the key level that people often overlook, I think, is that middle management level. Right? These are the people that are going to actually enforce the adoption of the process and making sure that the system is utilized in the development of the product. If you don't have that team, because an engineer is not going to go to the president to say whether or not he should do something. He's going to go to his manager, and if that manager doesn't back it, then you also have an adoption problem.
So are there specific actions or specific methods, recipe you use for the middle management layer?
For us, it was, in all their layers, really it's about communication, transparency, expectations. This is what we'll need from you. This is what you can expect, so that we give them the material, the information they need to be successful. That's what each of those layers have the same goal. They want to be successful.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So we have to build on success.
Yeah. Exactly.
Aaron, I think this was very clear and fully in line with what you explained to all those customers this morning. And I hope that people that will look at it will also feel the depth in this approach, and I wish you to enjoy the rest of the conference, and I'm looking forward to see you, and maybe to have a glass of champagne for the first product design with the School Experience.
We'll definitely invite you out for that. That would be fantastic.
On site in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephane.